roasted. This is your time. We're here to be with you.
Aww, that doesn't happen very often.
And what are you smoking today, by the way?
Oh, let's see. Oh, Red Normal, Red Reserve, Red Survival,
What's that?
First Reserve.
First Reserve.
Yeah,
You smoke a lot of cigars?
I do.
What age?
More
did you
so
start?
during COVID.
Okay. And what age did you start?
What age?
Yeah.
Well,
Is it a priest thing?
is it a priest thing?
Yeah.
Yes, I think so. I didn't start with actual cigars initially. I started with black and mild,
Cigarillos?
whatever weird things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I realized that's not really good. There's actually good things out there. It's kind of like how when you first start drinking, you start with cheap beer, and you realize, no, like this could be an enjoyable, actually delicious good to be pursued in this, if I do it right. So, quality.
So you buy your own cigars, or
I do. Okay. So some people give you stuff.
would that be a good gift if people watching Christmas?
Yes.
Do you have a humidor?
I do.
Keep them in there.
Yeah.
Excellent. And did you get through? How long does it take to smoke a cigar?
45 minutes, maybe like that.
And so, what are you drinking today? You got some.
Tonight I have some bourbon. This one's called Oak and Eden. And it was a gift for my birthday. I turned 30 this year.
Oh,
And so some parishioners got me some bourbon.
excellent.
I get bourbon for doing baptisms or turning 30 or a random thing for my parishioners. And that's really fun.
So you just drink whatever you get, whatever turns up.
By and large.
Excellent. So you were born in 1990.
1990.
What a year. Would you consider yourself a 90s kid growing up?
Yes.
What were you into as a child? Pokemon or
Pokemon.
Power Rangers or
Gosh, Barney. Barney was
Barney.
big when I was in kindergarten. I don't know how much I made my parents endure that, but yeah.
you ever go back watch old clips on YouTube?
No.
No.
Are they out there? Do they exist?
Yeah, they're out there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh no.
My
Why?
children just watch all the childhood shows that I watched.
Okay.
On YouTube.
Really?
Yeah.
They have accents?
Yes.
Oh.
Very slow pace, slow motion.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I feel like Barney was big. Not sure what else was big. Arthur. I mean, like random things like
Arthur.
Yeah.
What kind of animals was he?
Aardvark.
Aardvark.
Yeah. It's the funny things that stick with you. And you're like, why do I know that? I don't know.
Hey Arnold.
I do.
Any of that?
Oh, no, I missed that.
I think Arthur maybe ran for a longer period.
Okay.
But then as you got older, would your parents buy you things? You know, if you wanted a Barney backpack, they'd buy you the Barney backpack. You know?
I'm the youngest, so I got the hand-me-downs.
Ah.
Yes.
And so how many siblings do you have?
I have a sister, a brother, and I'm the baby.
Okay, so you get all the brother stuff.
Yep.
Whatever he was into.
Yeah. We were pretty much the same size. He's a little older than me, but I'm a big kid. Always have been. Yeah.
And you got on well with your brother and sister?
Yes.
Share a bedroom or
With my brother, yeah.
bunk beds?
Never did bunk beds. Yeah.
Did a lot of bunk beds myself, you know, swinging down.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
We grew up in the burbs, out in Broken Arrow.
Space.
Yeah.
Yeah, under the bunks. Yeah, and what school did you attend at Broken Arrow?
Broken Arrow Public School. From kindergarten all the way through senior year. Yeah.
The same school or the same grouping of schools? Or?
Same grouping of schools.
So were there students who were in your class, like from 5 to 18? Anybody who went all the way
In
through?
theory, yes. I don't actually know of any. So Broken Arrow is just a crazy big school system. So there's my graduation class was 1,060. So it's a fair number. My kindergarten class was Oh gosh, there were maybe 40, 50 of us
In the same room.
Not in the same room necessarily, but yeah.
Split them off.
Yeah.
Do you remember, what's your earliest memory?
I'm not sure I really do have any. Like, I don't know what my earliest one is. I remember watching home videos from early on.
So you might have some fake memories.
Right. Yeah. My brother liked to push me in the stroller, even though he's literally a year and a half older than me. But that's kind of what brothers do. Whenever we go to the zoo in Garden City. But, yeah.
Is that in Kansas?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I was born in Garden City, Kansas.
You were? Okay.
Yeah.
What age did your family move down here?
When I was 1, my family moved to Broken Arrow. Yeah.
So you don't have any memories of the zoo?
No.
You haven't been
But I
back?
know it exists. I have faith it exists.
Well, that's good. That's good. And so kind of a quiet suburban life growing up. Soccer practice, get into any of that? What kind of sports?
Tons. So, my mom would coach soccer. I don't know if my dad coached any when we were little. Did soccer growing up, did baseball for a bit. Yeah, the normal things. I never really excelled at any of those sorts of things. My brother did a lot of soccer. He went through high school playing soccer and cross country. My sister did track and cross country. And I didn't do any sports in high school. Started getting into singing. Tried music a little bit. In middle school, started playing the clarinet. Because I wanted to do the bass clarinet, and it wasn't big enough. They're like, we have to wait to see if you can do the clarinet, and then you can upgrade to the bass clarinet. And then after a few years, they're like, well, you're doing all right. You should stick with this. I didn't want to, so I just quit band.
So you never have you ever played a bass clarinet?
I have not. I just thought it's like a giant saxophone. This looks awesome. I can do that. That's pretty nifty. Yeah.
But you, I mean, many people remark that you have a almost angelic voice, and so you enjoy singing.
I do. Yes.
Disney tunes.
Yeah, I've got a number of those committed to memory. Yeah, that goes back a long ways. So, I mean, singing for me, I started singing more so at church. We had a youth choir. We initially had like a little praise and worship group that would travel around to like, I don't know, nursing homes or other weird things. I don't know how I got roped into it. Someone talked me into it and I didn't say no. And so, yeah, we would go and do like, How Great Is Our God, and other like classic 90s guitar things. And then from there, my senior year, I started doing choir at Broken Arrow Public Schools. And that's where it got more serious choral quality.
What's your earliest memory in the church setting?
I'd fall asleep and my mom would hit me. Stay awake! Stay awake!
Is that midnight
That's
mass or
asleep.
just on a Sunday?
No, that's just normal Sunday, probably like 10 a.m. or whatever. Like, I'm going back to bed.
So
This is boring.
You may be up early at 6 and then by 10 it's nap time.
Mm-hmm.
Drift off.
And being the youngest, we try and get away with as much as we humanly can. So even if I'm in like, I don't know, 4th grade, I'll try and sleep through all of mass if I can get away with it. Not because I need to, but
Yeah.
that's what we do.
So your religious education, your formation in the faith, you didn't have it at school,
Nope.
I assume. And so was it at the parish at home, or how did that pan out?
It was exclusively at the parish. We didn't really do anything at home. Yeah, with the faith. And so we did religious education, general RE, which is like, I don't know, maybe an hour every week or so at the parish. They just drop you off and pick you up when it's done.
Wednesdays?
No, we did Sundays. There was a Wednesday option for those who couldn't do Sundays. I think that's for the parents who didn't want to go to Mass on Sunday, so it wasn't convenient to do Sunday. But yeah.
What's your earliest memory of just praying by yourself, maybe in your room or after Mass or something like that? Or what kind of year do you think you started that practice?
Probably not until about 8th grade or so.
It's about 12, 13 years
Yeah.
old. And why do you think that happened? Sort of your early walk with the Lord? How did
Yeah.
that go from attending class to becoming personal?
Right. So for me, it kind of happened when I was in. Well, growing up, there's three groups of families that are really close. Myself, the Hobbs, and the O'Briens. Some of you may know Father Sean O'Brien. So his family and I grew up real close. Jake Hobbs and I and some other people. But their families were just, we would spend all of our weekends and nights hanging out with each other. We would just rotate. This weekend I say at your place, the next weekend you're at my place. We just kind of grew up together. We lived in the same neighborhood, same public schools, go to the same church. So we just go camping, spend family time together. And their family, the O'Briens, they were the very religious kinds. So they like pray the rosary in the car, and they would pray before and after Mass. They would go to adoration together as a family during the week. Different things kind of like that. Things my family didn't do. And I always thought it was kind of weird. And then it's like, I don't know what the rosary is. It's a Catholic thing. We're like Catholic, so I should maybe know this, but I don't. That's all right. It's just the way I was raised. And then my 8th grade year, my friend Alan, he got sick and he had a brain aneurysm. So blood vessel in his brain burst. It's kind of just a freak sort of thing. Like, could have been a week from birth or whenever, and it happens. So first period, he had a headache. Second period, he went home. His mom came and picked him up and drove him to the hospital. He was in pain the whole way there. He's banging his head on the dashboard. They put him in drug-induced coma, and that night he was declared brain dead. So it was a pretty quick thing. He's the youngest, so he's the same age as me, and we spent all our time together. He has a sister same age as my brother, and his brother same age as my sister, and we're all really close. And that was when I realized that my faith doesn't really exist. We just go through the motions. Like all those things, I was like, the rosary, I don't need that. I can just go to Mass on Sunday. Understand the Eucharist, understand the Catechism. I don't need these things to be Catholic. I just need to show up to Mass. And then I realized, well, faith in name only doesn't actually help you in those dark moments when you actually need a light. So I started going to adoration and had a beautiful encounter with the Lord in the Eucharist, as happens to most Catholics who take their faith seriously at some point. And that's why I started doing weekly adoration when I was in 8th grade. And that's probably when I started actually praying personally and understanding what that meant. Once I realized there's someone to pray to. Took a little while, 8th grade, but
So your friendship with the other families, particularly O'Brien, is going to introduce you to the faith and the basics and the practices and whatnot. But it was this adversity and I guess the loss of your friend. And you had a decision at that moment, right? Do you remember making it, or do you remember how that sort of played out?
It's just kind of like drowning with a sea of questions, like why him, why now, why not me? Because I mean, whenever it's a freak accident like that, there's no one to blame. It's not like a car wreck. It's not surgery went wrong. There's no one and nothing to blame. Not a disease or an illness. It just happens. And so those sort of things kind of shake you, make you realize how fragile life is. And with that, you can be freaked out by that and be a nervous wreck, or you can realize, no, life is a gift. I can live in fear that I may lose my life, or I can see every day that I have life as a gift and live it to its fullest. And at first I had tons of questions, definitely a dark, depressed, suicidal space initially. That was a dark period for a bit there. And then I found myself in an adoration chapel, and I never heard the Lord speak to me, never had any of those revelations. But when I walked in the adoration chapel, there's just this wave of peace that just came over me, and all my burning questions just didn't need to be answered anymore. And so it kind of got me going to adoration weekly after that. I signed up for a weekly adoration slot on Friday afternoons in my parish.
How did you get there?
I walked, because it's in the same neighborhood. Yeah.
And so you almost have the description of your parish and then this community of faith, geographical proximity, do you think that was a really key in your life?
Yes, being able to walk to church was definitely super clutch for me.
You think you would have been taken there if you needed to?
Sometimes. Not as often as I went. Definitely not.
And they had did they have the Petra adoration there or just on
Nope.
Fridays?
Monday to Friday, 9 to 9.
Okay. But it was available.
Yes. Yeah.
And then, do you remember any interactions with priests or any counsel by the priests at that time or after that time?
Not during that time, no. Later on, the more I was in high school, you're hanging around the parish a lot, going to adoration by yourself, and you're a young guy. So everyone's saying, like, you're going to be a priest. And you're like, do I have to? I don't really want to. Do I have a choice? Like, how does this work? Is this something I need to look at? Can I say no? Am I allowed to say no? And so I remember that's probably most of my interaction with priests from that age. So growing up, Monsignor Gallus was my pastor. He's out at Berners now. But he was at Benedict when I was a kid. He's the one who did Alan's funeral. And he was around for most of my childhood. So he's the pastor I think of growing up. But and then later on when I was in high school, we got Father Joe Townsend. And he was always supportive of the priesthood. He was someone who always loved telling guys, oh, you should go check it out, it'll be good. Yeah. So St. Benedict, my home parish, has had, 6 seminarians, 5 been ordained in the past 6 years or so. I mean, like, it's just, we're a bit of a priest factory at the moment. Mm-hmm. We don't have many left, but we don't have many guys currently in seminary, just a few, but yeah.
Did you have a friendship with Father Brian Sean at the time?
So growing up, I mean, I've known him for as long as I can remember, because our families were so close. So we would spend fall break, spring break, summer breaks together, camping, going around doing different things, with Boy Scouts, different things together. So yeah, I've known Father Sean O'Brien, for a long time.
And would you talk to him about, religious things and to pray together and things like that?
We never did any of that until once upon a time, my senior year, the summer before my senior year, was World Youth Day in Sydney, Australia. And I was like, it's in Sydney. Why would I not go? Let's do this. So I went to Sydney, Australia with a group here from the Diocese of Tulsa. And funny enough, Father Sean O'Brien went on that same trip. And funny enough, Father Brian O'Brien was the one who was like, hey guys, I need to go do this thing. You should come with me. It's at the Sydney Opera House. And we're like, man, why not? We're in Sydney, Australia. The rest of the group was going and finding housing or something else, or finding registration or different other things. And so it was me, Father Sean O'Brien, and Father Brian O'Brien, then just Sean O'Brien. He was still in school. He was still in college, senior in college that year. And Father Brian O'Brien, we got on the wrong train going the wrong direction, so it was a long journey. So we had a lot of time to talk. And he at one point said, hey, have either of you ever thought about priesthood? And I was like, well, I kind of have. I haven't said anything, so like, what do I say? Do I admit it out loud? I don't really want to. People are telling me I should do this, but I'm not really sure I want to. And Sean O'Brien's like, well, yes, I have. I'm actually applying. And I'm like, you what? Known you for like 20 years. Oh, not 20 years. I know you like 18 years at that point. And that's the first time I was Sydney, Australia was the first time when I came back from Sydney, Australia, I got the actual application, started the paperwork. So it was that trip that was very instrumental in me making the decision to not keep kicking it down the road and actually, all right, we'll apply and see where this goes, sort of thing.
Because it was presented to you when you were, a teenager.
Yes.
And it was kind of presented and proposed.
Not my idea.
Yeah. Was there anything of that? Who was the Pope at the time of that? What do you think?
That was Benedict.
Do you have any, memories, other memories from that experience for that trip?
So Pope Benedict was, I don't know, maybe, what would you say this distance is? He's about...
Over 6 feet.
Yeah, over 6 feet. But I'd say he's maybe like 12 feet away from me. He drove by in the Pope-mobile, and he wasn't... It was one of those things where he was supposed to be going on this other route, and he didn't. He came on this route, and he was within like 12 feet of me. And it was very powerful. We stayed up all night, we camped outside, because that's what you do when you're in World Youth Day, even though you're in Sydney, Australia. In our summer is their winter, so you're camping outside in the winter in the middle of a field in Australia. So like all huddled together because you're bitter cold. And the Pope is going to be on the stage, which is, oh my gosh, I don't even know, like 7 football fields away in that general direction. There's like a mega screen somewhere around here that I can see. And he came by in the Pope-mobile and was about 12 feet away from me. That was the closest I've been to realizing like the universality of the church as a Catholic kid growing up in Broken Arrow. In Tulsa, we're a minority, there's not many Catholics. And to go to the World Youth Day and see, I forget how many there were that year. I want to say Sydney, Australia was a lower number. It was over 500,000 still. And that was one of the lower years. To see that many young adults on fire for their faith who are all Catholic was just very powerful. And to see not my bishop of my area or my diocese or the archbishop or cardinal, but to see the Pope of the entire church in a space where you have all these 500,000 Catholics gathered, it definitely gives you a different perspective than you normally would have.
Was that your first trip out of the country?
That was. It was a long flight. My first international one.
And so you've spoken a bit about being outside and camping, and you have a great love for the outdoors and for the natural world.
When the weather's nice. Yes.
So a couple of months out of the year.
Yeah, I'm a little fickle. But it's funny because we would grow up hardcore camping. We never had an RV or camp or anything. It was always tents and just weather is what it is. You're like, all right. But it was just family time. Loved hiking. I still love hiking. Love being outdoors, getting out. Tanning a little bit, burning more. That's kind of my norm. I love kayaking and being on the water. Nature is just so calming and soothing. And there's something very refreshing. And like, it kind of has those moments where it just helps you reset your mindset. We can definitely get negative thoughts and pessimism and just, oh my gosh, anxiety and fear and stress. And you're just like, when you're out in nature, you're just surrounded by like the natural water, and it is just so freeing and like it all works. It's stuck in my life. Here we go. We're all right. It's all good. The world's still spinning. That's kind of a nice reminder to have every once in a while.
Yeah, I know you've got a great love for the Old Testament. How do you see nature as in like the garden as well, and just that sort of more direct access to God through the things that He has explicitly made and the natural environment for man?
Yeah. Well, in the beginning, you hear about that's what we're made for. That's our task. Our original task as His creatures is to preserve and to maintain the beauty that He's created. That's what He does with man. He creates him, sticks him in a garden, and says, take care of this stuff. And there's something very nice and refreshing about, there's something so refreshingly human about overseeing, maintaining, growing, planting, nurturing, trimming, at times weeding, pulling up things that are not healthy. Sometimes you have to take a saw and cut things down to the stump and they grow back, and that's all right. Other times you try and yank out the roots, and there's just something so basically human about it. Yeah.
And so when you came back from World Youth Day, what year was that?
That was summer of 2008.
2008. You had the application.
Yep.
And did you speak to your family about it? How did those conversations play out?
So I did not talk to them until Christmas break. I filled out my application. It took a while, but I did it, and I knew I needed to tell my family. My parents divorced when I was a sophomore in high school, and so I lived with my mom. So I figured when my sister and brother came home from college, my sister went to Notre Dame, my brother was at Oklahoma State. When they came home from college and we're all together, I figured, all right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to tell them that I've applied to seminary.
Not that you were applying, that you'd already applied.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much. Like, it's already done. I hadn't gone through the interviews, I hadn't been accepted or anything, but it's like, yeah, I'm applying, I'm doing this. I know I am. I've already done the work, I'm doing it. I'm not sure if I'd submitted it at that point or not. Actually, I think I actually had. But I was kind of putting it off because I knew since the divorce relationship with my mother, I'd been very stressed because she's a single mom trying to raise a little hellion. Overall, I was a good kid, but I'd still go to parties, still go do stupid things, as every stupid teenager does, with minimal parental authority, which, being a single mom who worked all the time, yeah. She tried to impose a lot of control, but when you're a teenage boy, you tend to find ways of working around those sorts of systems. And so anyways, I knew I was just not looking forward to it. I didn't really know what their response would be. I knew that my family never, growing up, none of my faith came from my family. It was one of those things where we were faith in name only as a family. And I had a deeper belief, but I had made that move without my family. I wasn't sure exactly what their response would be. So I was kind of not looking forward to it. And eventually I did tell them one night. I waited until I was like, all right, it's like 10 p.m. We're going to go to bed. It's like, hey, family, while we're all here talking and having fun, I think I need to tell you, I'm applying to Oklahoma State and some other places, but I am applying to join the Diocese of Tulsa as a seminarian. And that is an option on the table. And we stayed up till about 3 a.m. in the morning. So my plan backfired. I was like, I thought it'd be like, all right, I'm giving it out there, and now we're going to bed. Bye. And that's not the way that works. And it was a conversation all about, this is the wrong move. Why are you doing this? That's kind of crazy. You're too young to make that sort of decision. You're at that stage where you need to be broadening your horizons, not narrowing it down to one specific thing, putting all your eggs in one basket. What are you going to do if it doesn't work? You're going to get a degree in philosophy, like that's just silly. Why would you? That's a waste of time and money. You're going to miss out on the college experience. So it was a long conversation, and there wasn't much resolution to it other than, well, I'm doing it. Whether you guys like it or not, I don't know. It's one of those things where I decided to do it, not because of my family. There are certain guys who were in seminary because their mother was like, I've always wanted a priest in our family. It's like, oh, well, I'd love to meet him at some point. Who does that? Who are you? Not my experience. Yeah. So it was a long conversation. And at the end of it, it was we're going to disagree on this. And that's all right.
What was your, at that point in time, right, so you're 17, 18, applying, what was your prayer life like in your spirituality?
Yeah. So I was doing weekly adoration every Friday afternoon in my parish still. And aside from that, I was going to Dead Theological Society at my parish.
Okay, what's that?
So it's a weekly group, and we would get together and talk about the saints. And every week they talk about a different saint, talk about their life, their successes, their obstacles, things that went right, things that went wrong in their lives, and the ways that God used them beyond their understanding. So often saints do crazy things like, I don't know, they'll write a book that is read by millions of people for centuries. And you're like, Augustine had no idea his confessions would ever be read by that many people, and he'd probably be mortified if he knew when he was writing it, they're going to read this in like 1,500 years? Are you serious? I'm not going to write that down. But it's just beautiful to see, like, beyond your wildest imaginations, God can use your life and your story in ways that you will not ever comprehend in your lifetime. And And that's just beautiful and inspirational. I always loved hearing about the different saints and the things that went well and things that, man, they overcame some incredible odds and persevered. Not through their own merits, not through their own strength, but through God's grace. And I needed that message a lot in high school. I think everyone needs that message a lot, especially in high school, but I mean, every stage of your life presents new obstacles and challenges. And the saints are there to challenge, to encourage, to support, to call us on to do something bigger and better than we would normally choose for ourselves. The path that they chose was not one of their own making. I think it's universal for pretty much all the saints. They get on the path that they feel that God's calling me in this direction. It makes no sense, but I'm going to do it because I feel God's calling me there. And lo and behold, it's fulfilling. Yeah.
Are there any saints that you were close to at that point in time? Perhaps his stories are a little bit similar to yours, or that you admired?
Well,
I think it's St. Thomas Aquinas, who was, his parents didn't want him to go to
No, I mean, I always love those good stories where my family doesn't want me to go to seminary, so who was it? Who they locked him in a tower.
Aquinas,
Yeah, locked him in a tower with a prostitute. They're like, this will cure him of his crazy desire to go be a priest. And he chases her out of the room with like a poker from the fire. He's like, get back, you wench! Like, okay, my family didn't do that. We're good. But there's funny stories like that. My favorite saint, though, was always Saint Maria Faustina, which is kind of weird because I don't know if we had anything in common. Precious little. She was called to be a nun at a very young age. She felt a desire initially that was, her family dissuaded her from that, and she just fell away from it. She felt like, her family's like, she's like little, and she's like, I want to be a nun. And they're like, no, not allowed. And so she just like buried that desire and forgot about it for years. And she would go to parties and different things, and she was at a party one night, dancing with her sister and doing whatever, and Jesus, scourged and bloody, appears to her and just looks her in the eye and says, how long shall I keep putting up with you, and how long shall you keep ignoring me? And she just goes, she's like, sits down for a minute, she's like, her sister's like, are you okay? She's like, yeah, I got a headache. And she goes home, and within a week, she gets on a train and goes to discern a religious life against her family's will and wishes. And there's something very powerful and profound about that I love. But her diary was just so powerful for me because she speaks with Jesus in a conversational way. And when I started doing adoration, I didn't know how to pray at the time. But I was going to weekly adoration because I believe in the Eucharist. And I was like, all right, let's do this. And then I realized I fall asleep and don't know what to do in adoration. Crap! And her diary was suggested to me by a friend. And I started reading it and realizing her dialogue with Jesus about, Jesus, this is not going well in my life. I'm struggling with this. Or, Jesus, this doesn't make any sense to me. Can you explain this to me? Like, the different ways that she would dialogue with the Lord taught me how to pray and how to have an actual relationship through prayer with the Eucharist. And that was very foundational for me. And so she was my favorite saint growing up.
She was almost like your spiritual director.
Mm-hmm.
And so eventually you did make it into the seminary. Would you like to go through that process again?
No, not in the least.
And you ended up in
Minnesota.
Okay, where? I don't even know where that is.
It borders Canada.
Okay.
It literally borders Canada. That's how north you are.
You ever been to that state before that time?
I had been on seminary visits.
Okay.
Because people said, oh, it'll be fun. You should go see the seminary. And I'm like, a free trip out of the state. Let's do it. So I'd been on seminary trips before, and I thought it would dissuade them from having me, and it didn't. And so I did that, and I had been up there and visited before, but I didn't like it. It was way too cold.
And you were there for how long?
4 years.
4 years. So it was college. Was it that different from the college experience, or what was it like being out of college but in seminary?
So University of St. Thomas is a little different. Basically, the seminary is a dorm on a college university campus. And so we didn't have our own refectory, we didn't have our own gym, we didn't have our own classes or classrooms. Everything was on campus. Our dorm was our house of seminarians with our formators and with a chapel. And a crazy rigorous prayer schedule. And it was very good for me. Tons of blessings being there. We did daily holy hour and prayer life. I'd wake up at 5 a.m., shower, get ready. We were in the chapel every morning by 6 a.m., doing our holy hour, morning prayer and mass. After that, 7 or so. And then off to classes. Classes start at 8 a.m. Breakfast, if you can fit it in class. Yeah. Depends on how long the priest would talk. Every now and then there's that one rogue priest who's like, I've got a 30-minute homily today. And you're like,
there goes the breakfast.
Scrambled eggs are running away from me as you speak. But, yeah.
So you received that good formation, good discipline as well?
Yes. At least waking up, going to bed. Still going to bed at midnight-ish most nights. So on average, I was doing about 5 hours of sleep a night.
Okay. For 4 years?
For 4 years. Yeah.
Is that because you were up talking or studying?
Sometimes, yeah. There are definitely several all-nighters, tons of papers, lots of reading. Philosophy is a degree. So I got a double major in philosophy and Catholic studies. Double major. Tried to do a math minor, and it never actually pulled through, which was sad. I did AP Calc and AP Stat in high school, and I got college credit for those. I did the AP tests, but I never quite got the minor in. So,
was mathematics your favorite subject?
Oh, totally. Yeah, it's gonna be a math major at Oklahoma State.
Okay.
And God ruined all my plans. So
what were you planning to do after that?
Oh, no idea. Get married, wife, kids, get a job that pays well. The basics.
A math professor, or did you have something else in mind?
I don't know if I'd be fine with teaching, but I don't think that's where the money is. So I think I wanted to do something rarer, like a statistician for a sports team, or work for finances and be like their number cruncher guy, and like big Fortune 500 company sort of thing. Like, yeah, I'd love that. Abstract math, beautiful stuff. Right up my alley.
And so at that time, was there a particular formator or priest who, took you under his wing, or was kind of a mentor to you?
Well, not so much. Different priests definitely did reach out, and in seminary it's kind of come and go because it's a very transitory place, and you're assigned there by your bishop, or your bishop puts you on loan there if you're from another diocese. So, our seminary was in St. Paul, Minnesota, but it's staffed with priests from Cross, from St. Paul, from St. Cloud. They're just from all over, different dioceses all over. There were 27 dioceses that sent to that seminary, and there were 170 seminarians there at the height of it when I was there.
So if you remember that.
Yes. We had guys from Mobile, Biloxi, Texas, Oklahoma, all up the Midwest, all up north, Michigan. Yeah.
Did you ever feel like you weren't cut out for it, that maybe you shouldn't be a priest, or any serious doubts?
Like every day.
Every day?
Even in the application process, I submitted my application fully expecting the diocese to never say yes. I did not even dream or think or have any remote hope that they would say yes. And a part of me didn't want them to. Because I was not at a point where I was ready to accept that. It's a big call, and something I was not ready for at that stage of my life. And so when I got to Minnesota, the diocese said yes, and when they sent me to Minnesota, I just felt out of place. Partly because I'm from a broken family. I'm a public school kid who knows nothing about his faith. I know the rosary exists. I can't tell you any of the mysteries of any, like, I don't know how many mysteries there are. Like, I know there's D's, Our Father's Name, Mary's, okay. But I knew adoration. I have a love for prayer, and I love the relationship with the Lord that was beautiful and great, but I just don't know stuff. I didn't know about the virtues. I didn't know how many there are. I don't know commandments backwards and forwards. I can't list them to you. And it's just beautiful to see the ways that all my insecurities and insufficiencies meant nothing to God. That's just like, God doesn't care about whether I know these things or not. He cares about whether I'm called to this. And that was something that, over time, the seminary formation process kind of helped me realize. Guys who were way more qualified, way better Catholics than I was, kept on dropping out. And it was just beautiful to see how they're called out because that's not their call. And it's about your calling, not about how talented or qualified you are for these different things.
So you had it would be fair to say you had almost just simple love for the Lord and relationship with Him.
Simple man, simple pleasures.
And at what point did you feel that peace? Like, yeah, I'm supposed to be here.
When I got ordained. Okay, maybe a little before that. My senior year of college. We had our Christmas break. We come back a little early and we do a retreat. And so I went on a retreat, and it was a silent retreat. As we went along, most of ours were silent retreats. Not so much your first few years, but towards the end, it's silent. And so it's just a lot of time to speak to the Lord and listen to His response and dialogue and have beautiful, quiet prayer time. And it's that time where it's like, all right, this is my last semester of college, and if I'm going to leave, this is the best time to do it. Like, where you graduate and you're just like, all right, bye, guys. I'm not going to see any of you guys again because you're going to different seminaries anyways. Like, all my friends are going to different seminaries. It's a nice time to leave. And it's a good break time if you need that. And so I was definitely like, all right, Jesus, am I doing this or not? Please tell me I don't need to go get ordained because I'm ready to leave. And, yeah. It's not what happens. So I was praying a lot and being like, silent retreats, what else do I have to do? I'm just going to pray. And it's just like, God, do you want me to become a priest or not? God was just silent. He never responded. And for days, it's just like, all right, bud, it's only 5 days long. You're going to be silent for 3 days, and now, like, okay, now are you going to tell me what's going on here? Like, do I need to leave? Do I need to join a religious order? Where am I going? What am I doing? What am I going to do if I leave? What am I going to do if I stay? Where am I going to go? How long am I going to stick this out until I decide it's quits, or they do, or someone else? And on that retreat, God told me towards the end, slacker. I think he was procrastinating, to be honest. No. But God was like, I will not drag you to the altar kicking and screaming. And it was just that sense of peace where God showed me your vocation is something that you choose. He gives us free will because we're called to use free will. And I had to come to terms with, if I choose to leave and choose to go get married, that's my choice. And if I offer that marriage to the Lord, God will bless it. And if I go into sort of religious order, and the religious order says yes, and I say yes, God will bless that vocation because it's a choice I've made. And if I choose to continue this path and go get ordained to be a priest in the diocese, if I offer that vocation to the Lord, it'll be blessed. And the diocese has to say yes, and the formators have to say yes, and it all has to be something we all mutually agree upon, but I have to make that choice in order for that to be an option. And God was not going to make that choice for me. And that's kind of when I realized I need to make a choice. I need to decide. And so that's when I decided, all right, spring semester, my senior year of college, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to see how long it lasts. I'm going to make my choice and let them make their choices. Formators, the diocese, priests, whatever, bishop. And, yeah, I'm based in God's hands. And that's really when I decided, all right, I'm going to go with this. Because up until that point, I'd definitely been, I'm going to leave seminary. It sucks. This is terrible. I'm not meant for this. Philosophy was maybe not my cup of tea.
felt that on that retreat, God was calling you to take ownership of being called?
It is our choice. We are given the choice. In so much of vocations, when we talk about it, it is you're created for a singular purpose, and you're created for a vocation. If it's not your vocation, you shouldn't pursue it. And that puts a lot of onus on, I need to find what I'm called to. And so it's just like, that's just been nailed and hammered into me. And I kind of got to that point where it's like, that is a part of it, but also a part of it is you have free will. God will not make the choice to get married for you, or the choice to enter a religious order, or the choice to get ordained. He's not going to make that choice for you. Just as he doesn't make the choice of salvation ours, he offers us an invitation that is ours to choose, to accept, or reject. God does not save us without our cooperation. It's beautiful to see, like, the same thing with our vocation. The choice that we make is ours. And that's something that's kind of uncomfortable, because you're kind of like, well, did he call me to do this? Am I supposed to? Like, I don't really know. How do you know it's the right person or the right time? You're just like, you know when you know. And up until that moment, you maybe don't. And so, like, yeah, when I got ordained, very peaceful.
And so accepting that invitation, did your family then kind of see that this was serious now?
No. I want to say it was a couple months before I got ordained a deacon. So I've been in seminary 7 years.
It's quite some time.
Yes, it was quite a while. And I remember a buddy of mine coming to me and being like, your brother just asked me if I'm going to talk you out of being a priest or not, because it's getting kind of close. My family still doesn't get it. My mother, she'd come a long way, and she definitely was the number one person who saw how much I grew and saw that I was happier there than I'd ever been anywhere else. And she knew that nothing else had made me happier than that. And I think she did come to that point at some point where she's just like, God, it makes no sense to me. He's a little pagan. I don't know what we're going to do with him. He's a little hellraiser. He's an oddball. That's what he does. We don't understand him. But if this is what you're calling him to and this is what makes him happiest, just place it in your hands. And so she definitely did come to some peace with, it's not her decision, and she knew that I was happier there doing that than anything else. So yeah, she was the one who saw the most that, like, all right, this is a calling, what that meant. I think for a lot of people who are not called to a vocation, who don't experience a call to a vocation, a lot of people go and get married. They date until they're like, yeah, I can do this, and they marry that person and call it good. A lot of people don't experience a call to a vocation. My brother married a girl that he dated in high school, and I feel like that's just, my sister married a guy that, I don't know, she knew him for a year. She had a baby with him within about 3 months of knowing him. It was just very much so like, this is what we're going to do, and that's all right. And I think we're going to make this work, so let's go ahead and get married. Whereas it's not the same as feeling discerning, am I called to this, and then making that choice. And so I feel like for them to understand my call to the priesthood, it was just foreign to them in many ways.
And so at the major seminary, you kind of done a lot of the philosophy, you turned to theology.
Yeah.
You seem to really enjoy that, particularly scripture.
Oh, yes. Old Testament. It's kind of my jam.
You've taught a class in the Old Testament as well?
I have. Bishop Kelly, they invited me to teach because A, they need teachers, and B, they trust priests. And so I taught there once, and they said, that was good. The kids liked it. I don't know why. I don't think you did half the things you were supposed to do, but yeah. And so they asked me to teach again. So I taught again. And I'm hoping they don't ask me to teach again, because I have too much to do. But I loved it. It was a lot of fun. And it was a great opportunity for me to share something I'm passionate and love. I love the Old Testament. Being able to share that with kids is very beautiful. I love doing that.
Just something that you didn't have.
No, I did not have a love for the Old Testament growing up. Oh yeah.
And then, so ordination approaching, you're ordained a deacon, family's finally kind of on board, and 2000 and...
I was ordained a priest in 17, deacon in
17.
16. Yeah.
And what was that like, ordination day?
Deacon?
Priest.
Priest.
Or a bit of both.
Yeah. It was a bit nerve-wracking because we had a new bishop. So when I was ordained a deacon, I met our bishop right before, like 3 weeks before I was ordained a deacon by him. I met him. And, we done twice a year, you meet with the bishop until you have a conversation with him. And I knew Bishop Slattery for years and years and years because he was my bishop when I was growing up. And then his successor's names, and I'm like, the guy I've known and had all my seminary with is not this guy. So I had a meeting with him, and he sits me down and says, all right, so I'm going to ordain you in 3 weeks, theoretically. So I'm like, he asked me a few things. He's like, okay, so where did you do your Spanish immersion? I was like, oh, I haven't done one, Bishop. And he said, okay, well, where did you do your clinical pastoral education? I said, I haven't done one of those, Bishop. And he asked me where I did my internship year. And I said, I haven't done one of those, Bishop. And so at this point, I'm like, I'm not going to get ordained in 3 weeks out of this. It's going to fail miserably. / this man doesn't know that. He's going to ordain me or not. Like, he's making the call. He doesn't know half the things I've done. I've done everything the bishop asked me to do for the past 7 years. Crap. It's all over. And vocation director at the time is Father Elkin Gonzalez, and he talked to the bishop afterwards and was like, it's all right, he's done plenty of things, he just doesn't sell himself very well. He still makes fun of me for that. The bishop was like, you know what, you've been good enough for everyone else, look out for it. I've just met you. And so he went ahead and ordained me, and it was just very beautiful to see, like, oh my gosh, all the people at St. Benedict's who've been praying for me for 7 years to get ordained a deacon, and to be ordained a deacon, and then for my last year to be ordained a priest and celebrate Mass. My first Mass of Thanksgiving was at St. Benedict's. With people who I knew growing up, who knew me from diapers, have been praying for me this whole time, telling me I had a vocation before I ever thought I did. Sending me to seminary, praying my way through 8 years, all the turmoil, to finally be able to do Mass and celebrate Mass with them was just it's profound. Yeah.
So it's almost like you met you brought into the church baptized as an infant, I take it, and then kind of introduced to the faith by other families, meeting the Lord in the Eucharist and the saints through the Dead Theologian Society, and then meeting the Church Universal in Sydney, and then formed in philosophy and theology.
By the Church Fathers. History. It's just beautiful to see all that works. Yeah. Supported
by friends in the parish spiritually.
Yeah.
And then you turn that back to them. Then you became their servant then in the priesthood.
Yeah.
What was that night like? Because you get ordained and you don't say Mass until the next day. What was that night like?
So, I did the Saturday vigil.
You did?
Yeah.
To avoid?
It was a lot of movement, but it was just beautiful. A lot of movement, but it was totally worth it. Being there with friends and family, and it's one of those things where you're exhausted and dead tired and emotionally drained, but this is what you've been preparing for all these years. And to be free of all the preparation and scrutiny and the are you good enough? Have you done this and this and this? Have you read this and that? Do you know these things? And just be like, you're ordained. You're good enough for the first time ever. It's a good feeling. That's what I prepared for. I think the same thing happens whenever you prepare all your years in school to be an accountant and to do your first tax preparation, to be a nurse practitioner, to be a doctor, and to finally help your first patient. Like, this is just what I've been prepared to do, and to actually do it. It's beautiful to see that those things were not in vain.
And so now you're 28, at a parish, and most people are older than you.
Significantly.
And you've got to be a spiritual father to them. What was that like? And who did you draw on for admiration?
Bishop Slattery was my inspiration, because towards the end of my seminary preparation, I had a good conversation with him. He talked about his first assignment. He was a priest. He was 26 when he was a priest, and he talked about he was at the rectory, and an elderly gentleman, 70s, mid 70s, upper 70s, came to the door and asked for confession, and it was right after he was ordained, and for him to realize he can give absolution to these people. He is their spiritual father. And to celebrate the sacraments, like, that's what makes me the spiritual father. And that's not mine to give, but been given to me. Mm-hmm. And that's what fatherhood is. Giving the gift of life, that is not yours to give, but you're granted it. It's something that the Lord imparts to you as a gift that you can give to another. And that's what spiritual fatherhood is as well. A gift that is not my own, a gift that has been granted to me that I can give to others.
A gift which is only fully received when you do give it to others.
Mm-hmm. Only fully actualized. Yeah. Whenever you
use
it. Yeah.
Yeah. And now you're at the University of Tulsa.
At the old age of 30.
The old age. Did you have...
Still older out here. I love it. It's a nice change.
You excited to be here and for
Yes.
different sort of very different to a parish.
I love little kids. I love breaking down the faith and explaining it to them. And I find that so fulfilling and so easy because I'm a simple guy. I don't try and complicate things at all if I can help it. I love working with the high schoolers and teaching them and working through their insecurities because they're so, especially the freshmen, they're so insecure about everything. And it's just beautiful to be like, oh, your voice cracked. Let's all take a moment of silence. I just love working with the high schoolers. They're just a hoot. And yet their problems are very real to them, but they're also smaller problems. And I love working with seniors in high school for that same reason of, like, they're getting into the more life lessons. Like, the choices I'm making are going to have lasting effects. And in college, you see that on a whole new level of this is life preparatory. Whenever you leave, you're not going to have anyone else holding your hands. You're surrounded by whoever you surround yourself by. You study whatever you pick, whatever you choose to study, and you graduate with whatever you choose to do, and you get whatever job you choose to pursue and sell yourself for and work for and maintain. Your life is starting to become your own. And that's a beautiful time for people to understand faith will be a part of that or it won't be. And that's a beautiful battleground and something that I feel is worth fighting for. And that's partly why I love being here at the Deacon Center, is dealing with this age group when things are getting way more serious than they have been ever before for them. And it's beautiful, again, because, a lot of their choices have not dictated where they're going to end up. And you can still make it still valuable, it's still fresh, it's still, your life is not written yet. There's still so many things we can change for the better. And I love that.
And then looking forward, to when you depart this world, you arrive at the gates of heaven. Do you think about those times? Do you think about that time? Do you think about...
No, not I can help it. Yikes.
What is it then that you would want the Lord to say to you?
You were not perfect, but you really did give it your all. And I mean, I think a beautiful thing to just have, like my tombstone or something like that, just be like, if I can be faithful to my call, if I can be a faithful priest, I don't know what greater gift I can really say. I'm going to be perfect. I'm going to be the best at this or that or the other thing. No, I can't guarantee or promise that. I'll be amazing. I'll be the most learned. I'll be the most talented. I'll be the best singer. I'll be the best homilist. I'll be the best spiritual director. Nope, none of those are going to be my accolades. But if I can say I was faithful to what I committed myself to, that's something that I think is within my reach and is an accolade worth striving for.
Thank you very much, Father Webb.
My pleasure.
Enjoyed having you. Would you take a moment just to give us a priestly blessing, please?
Yes. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Heavenly Father, thank you for this time to be with you. Continue to learn more about you and love and serve you in all that we do. Continue to inspire us to love and serve you in this life, to be with you forever in the next, to pursue you with all that we have. And now, God bless you all gathered here. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit.